Chapter 4, new things all the time. You nervous about school? Mom asked the evening before school started. She was washing potatoes at the sink as I packed a peanut butter sandwich at the table. No, it's going to be fine, I said, thinking of being in the same class with Rachel and no more special needs in the hallway. You do, huh? Well, I hope so. Mom gave me a poison eyeball. I guess she was not thinking about my being with Rachel and no more special needs in the hallway. I slowly folded the foil around my sandwich and I slid it into my backpack. All those books you read, she went on, not even looking at me while she peeled potatoes in short, fierce strokes. She was smacking them with the peeler like she wished that they were my behind. What a waste, Sahara. What a waste. Talk about a crying shame, Sahara. It's a crying shame. You read all the time, and what for? Repeating 5th grade. How could such a smart... I just don't understand you. She turned around suddenly and faced me, her chin jutting out and moving back and forth, but no words came then. She turned back to the sink. Peel, peel, peel. Trying to find me somewhere under the skin, the daughter she could be proud of. I just ran my finger over the smooth finish of my folders. I'm getting better at keeping things tidy, I told myself. Ooh, one thing I want to point out, in this book it says, peel, peel, peel. Do you know what it's called when words make a sound? There's a fancy name for that. It's like really hard to spell. Starts with an O, ends with a onomatopoeia. You ever heard that before? Yeah, onomatopoeia. Good job, David. You got it. Lady, you got it. Thanks, Ava. So onomatopoeia, those are words that make sounds like wow, or crash, or boom, or peel, peel, peel. What I noticed as I read lots of these books, good authors, Jordan Sonnenblick does it, Esme Raji Cadell does it, good authors almost always add in that onomatopoeia into their books, into their writing. So you can incorporate that into yours. Pay attention as you're reading books. See if you notice it. It's subtle, but you'll notice it every once in a while, like every few chapters or something. And it does a really good job of just conveying what's happening in a different way than just using words. We're using those words that make sounds. I'm going for a walk, I surprised myself by saying, "Oh, no, you're not," Mom said. "Where do you think you're walking to?" "It's still light out," I said as I walked out before she could say anything and ran down the stairs even though I could hear her through the door calling me. I walked toward the corner store, but once I hit the corner where was I supposed to go? I still turned it because I knew my mother was watching me through the window and I was mad at her. But once I was out of her sight, I didn't walk anymore. I just sat on someone else's stoop and I put my head in my knees and I cried. My mom was there in a minute. She walked me back, holding my shoulders. She sighed. "Let's just take it a day at a time, Sahara, okay?" "But I'm too lonely," I wanted to tell her. "I can't do it." But the sun rose again, and on the first day of 5th grade, for the second time, it rose and said, "You're going to have to do it." Have you ever done that before, where your parents call after you and you pretend like you didn't hear them and you just keep walking?
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Don't tell my mom, but I've done that before too. So that kids do that, and it's especially when you're emotional about something, like you're mad, you're angry, or you just want to go, like you have a place in mind you want to go, and you know that you can hear them, and they're like, "Get back here right now," and you just walk out of there like you weren't paying attention. What's Sahara so upset about? She was kind of optimistic at the beginning of that part of the chapter, but what is she upset about? Did you catch it?
She has no friends, and she has no repeat 5th grade.
Yeah, think about that. All new students, right? She may know some of them, but she doesn't really seems to have any friends. She said I'm so lonely, she wants new friends. She had a chance there in the library, but she's got to repeat 5th grade. And although she was optimistic and she was saying I'm doing a better job keeping my stuff tidy, like the new folders that she has. And the name of that chapter was called New Things All the Time. But then thinking about it, she's all upset. Mom comes in, talks with her, and walks her back home. And the sun went down, and the sun came back up, and now it's the first day of school. As I was walking in, no teacher was there, and the door was open. I took a seat in the back of the room, just like always. Rachel chose a seat in the row in front of me, to my left. She turned and smiled apologetically. I smiled back. No hard feelings. The back row is not for everybody. She motioned to the seat in front of the one I had chosen, but I pretended to be busy organizing my folders. I couldn't explain to Rachel that the seat in front of me was reserved, hopefully for somebody very tall and easy to hide behind. I looked at my new classmates. I knew a few of the girls from Double Dutch. There was Sakaya and Tanasia. And I knew Kieri by sight, so she's so tall and tough. I knew a couple of the boys, Big Mouth Raphael, Ernie, who comes to the library sometimes, and Daryl, held back just like me, legs spread, frowning in the back row corner. Was that handsome boy's name Dominique? There was Paris on the other side of the room, and the girl with the black hair too, chatting away. Paris waved and I waved too. They seemed nicer than my old class, maybe because Cordelia hadn't made it back in time from her family vacation in Disney World. Maybe because it was the first day and everyone was clean. Everyone was on good behavior. I looked at Daryl. Better behavior. The class was smaller than most. I noticed this was usually the case when Daryl was in the role. Maybe I'll have new friends, I thought fleetingly, but my mind was not really on my classmates. There was someone else left I needed to meet. Who is it that she needs to meet next? Teacher. The vice principal was standing there. Are you our new teacher? Someone asked. No. He looked relieved. The fifth grade teacher moved on over the summer, he said. Man, she quit, a voice called out. The vice principal frowned, but he couldn't tell who it was, so he ignored it. Yes. Well, your new teacher's on her way. Is she a teacher from another class? Someone asked. Our minds raced. The patient kindergarten teacher wagging a puppet on each hand. The short-tempered seventh grade teacher with hair growing from his ears. The one who liked to be called Lieutenant. Oh, I shivered. It's no one you know, the vice principal explained. She'll be transferring in from somewhere else. Be seated. Someone will be with you shortly, and he excused himself. A teacher from somewhere else sounded good to me. Sometimes I wish I were from somewhere else myself. I wish I were from a sort of place that inspires you to write long sentences about the shapes of clouds and the smells of things growing. But when you're from Chicago, it's hard to write sentences that sound like anything except coins going into the change machine on the public bus. Clink, clank, clunk. That's onomatopoeia. Clunk. Teacher's coming, hissed a boy who was standing guard at the door of the classroom. I think it's her. He slid into his chair. Hey, is she ugly? She'll hear you, fool, snarled a girl. Mama says you never get a second chance to make a first impression. She folded her hands and smiled at the ceiling. I closed my eyes and I tried to enjoy the feeling of the teacher not knowing me yet. I think I could do my work here. It's been a while, but what's the use? Even if this teacher I'm dealt is the Queen of Diamonds, I don't want to give them any more material for their file about me. Their precious file, so different from my own file of my summer, tucked behind the books of the low shelf in the library. I try to put this file out of my head and I sit up straight. And that's when I notice it is so quiet we can hear her coming down the hall. We're not even blinking. We're frozen like statues in our first impression poses. What's in her file, I wonder? And then I can't help but snickering a little, even though it breaks my pose. Because if they kept files on grown-ups, it would be a different story, wouldn't it?